Thank you, Jamie, for being here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Jamey Schilling is almost 23 years old and he grew up in four countries: United States, Austria, Norway, and Poland. His father was a diplomat, and as Jamie puts it, he was lucky enough to be taken along for the ride. Jamie joins us from Chicago, Illinois, USA. Jamie, given your background, I felt like I needed to add Illinois and USA, although Chicago is a very well-known city. I would like to start with where were you born and when did you move abroad?
Yeah, so I was born in Fairfax County, Virginia, a few years ago. Like I said, about to be 23. But we'd move every 3 years or so. So my dad was in the States for a year for language training. So then we'd move about every 3 years, come back to Virginia for language training, spend another 3 years at a post, and then come back. So from around first grade through third grade, I was in Oslo, Norway. From fifth grade through seventh grade, I was in Warsaw, Poland, and even before that, when I was in pre-K, I was in Austria. So it's been a journey. It's been a fun one though.
Yes, how many years altogether did you spend abroad?
I think it'd be about nine. So about nine. The fun fact I used to say was I spent half my life overseas, but as I keep getting older, the number keeps dwindling. So at some point it's gonna be, yeah, I spent a quarter of my life overseas. So it's a little less impressive, but still 9 years. So.
Okay, Jamie, when you were there, apparently you spent most of your schooling years there, um, early education there. Did you go to a local school or just in a school for Americans only?
So for 6 of the 9 years, I was in a school that was specifically for that language of the country I was in. So when I was in pre-K, it was an Austrian preschool, so they spoke German. Um, for Norway, I was in a German school in Oslo, which still doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's what it was. So I was able to learn two languages. And then for my final time in Poland, I was in an international school.
So, Jamie, how many languages do you speak?
So I speak Polish. Oh, I can order a hamburger in Polish, so my family, we say that counts. But we speak German, Norwegian, French, and then, of course, English.
And that's because you lived in Europe.
Yes, correct.
How many countries did you visit when you were in Europe?
Um, oh man, a lot. The great part about being with my family is my parents wanted to see everything. I think though mostly it was mostly based on the country where we were in. So Poland, we got around a lot. Domestically within Poland, but we traveled to the UK, Scandinavia. We got around a bit when I was younger, and then um, I'd say just around a lot. I'd say
Okay.
France as well. So.
Okay. Jamie, do you remember how many times did you visit United States when you were stationed in Europe?
So generally, we'd come back to the U.S. for summer and winter. We'd visit my grandparents, which is, so I'd say of the times I remember, I'd say it was about uh, six or so times, because I was in seventh, sixth, and fifth grade. I really remembered it. Before that, I think we also came back before, so numerous times before that. But I'd always considered the U.S. home.
And when did you move back to the United States, your family and you moved back to the United States?
Correct. Yeah, we moved back in the fall of 2009.
Fall of 2009. And where did you move to?
Fairfax, Virginia. So it's a homecoming of sorts for me.
And where is your family now?
So right now they're in Omaha, Nebraska, so flyover country, some would call it.
So your parents are in Omaha, Nebraska. Do you have siblings?
I have one brother. He's also living in Omaha, just a few blocks away from the parents.
Okay. Now, Jamie, let me summarize the whole thing. Your parents are here in Omaha, Nebraska. You grew up in four countries. Did you ever live in Omaha, Nebraska?
Yes, for 4 years I was in Omaha. I went to Creighton Prep. I'll give Creighton Prep a shout out. So
So high school was in Omaha, Nebraska.
High school is in Omaha, correct?
Okay, so let me summarize it. Your parents live here in Omaha, Nebraska. You graduated from high school here in Omaha, Nebraska. Graduated from college, Marquette University, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Live and work in Illinois, Chicago. I know, Jamey, you say that home is not a place on the map or a building, but honestly, where do you consider yourself to be from here in the United States?
Right now, I'd still say Omaha, as kind of plain as that sounds. I've always kind of had the belief where, um, I'd say also my family where home is where my family is. Right now, it's home is where the dog is, and right now that's Omaha. So I'd still say it's Omaha as home, but I'd say a little bit of me stays in each place. Like I'd also consider Milwaukee home to a lesser extent, and obviously now I'm living in Chicago, so that's also home as well. But I'd say if you were just to straight up ask me, Jamey, where's home? Definitely Omaha, because that's where the parents are.
Okay, and let's move now to the identity, a few questions regarding your identity. When you think of yourself, do you think of yourself as an American in terms of ethnicity?
I think so. I think when I was younger, there was more of a distinction because I'd just come from overseas, and there were at times me questioning myself, like, well, I have lived most of my life overseas. Am I really? But I think, after spending more time in the U.S., I'd say definitely proud American.
And you're saying that your connection, you still have some feelings for your countries for the countries where you grew up. When it comes to loyalties and a sense of belonging, do you think that you belong to those countries as well, the countries where you grew up?
Definitely. Kind of running joke in the family that we have is, especially when the Olympics and the World Cup come on, it's the most challenging part for me because, like, especially in the Olympics, like I hope the Norwegians do well, but I also hope the Germans do well, but I also hope the Polish teams do well, and so it's just almost a conflict of interest, but I hope they all do really well. So I'd say definitely I'm rooting for all of them, and like I'd see a certain part of me in them, but more so now it's just gosh, I hope they do well, and like I said, I feel a little bit of me has stayed there, but it's not as big as it once was.
Okay. Um, where are your friends? Where is your biggest circle of friends?
That's kind of the cool thing about moving around so much is I feel I've gotten very good at maintaining my friends, especially with the dawn of social media, cell phones, all that good stuff. I'd say for right now, probably Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just because it's the freshest. Most of my friends are there. I also have a very good amount of friends in Omaha as well. And I'd say a few in Virginia as well, and limited ones overseas, just because we were so young and maintaining connections were really difficult. Because obviously, a fifth grader is not going to really have a cell phone or the means to stay in touch as well as like a high schooler. So,
Yeah.
so I'd say most of them in Milwaukee, though.
In United States.
Correct. Yes.
What was, as you said, you were pretty young when you moved back, but do you remember anything that was really hard for you to adjust to when you moved back to the United States? First of all, can you remind me one more time, what year did you move back? Was it 2009?
2009. Yes, I moved back for eighth grade. So I had 1 year in middle school in Virginia, and then the year after that, we moved to Omaha.
So what was the hardest for you to adjust to? You were a kid, but do you remember anything it was hard for you to adjust to the American life?
American life, no. It was more so just moving back to this place I'd called home and not knowing one, or not really knowing anyone since it'd been 3 years. I had one moment where it was kind of hard. He was one of my best friends at the time, and I'd left for 3 years, and I came back, and we went to the same middle school together, but he didn't recognize me, which was kind of tough. It's like, wow, like I thought this kid was one of my best friends. Kind of turns out no, so which is, which again, it would, I'd say addition by subtraction, like that like those hard moments help you realize like who your real good friends are. Like especially moving around so much, a lot of your friends you realize unfortunately they'll drift away unless either you take the effort to keep in communication or they. And the ones that do like for the ones where you both have really good communication, those really are friends for life. But the unfortunate thing I've learned is like there's a good amount of both. So after time, I think time really tells all about which role which friend will fall into.
Okay. Now, Jamie, do you remember anything that you were happy to move back to the United States? And I'm telling you this because I recall a family that they were finishing their PhDs in Germany, and every time the family landed back in the United States, they would go to a taco place. They missed tacos. How about you? Do you remember anything like that?
So several things. I'll start with one. My mom wouldn't let me live this down if I ever forgot this. My mom swears that the thing we were most impressed by when we came back to the U.S. was that there were unlimited refills for soda. I'd say as far as personally, um, there were no. I'm a big sports fan. I missed being able to watch, whatever it was, college football and not have it not be 3 in the morning. But also being able to speak English as well and understand what's happening around me was also really nice. And I always remember because we'd come in most recently from Poland, and we'd always connect through Chicago O'Hare. And I always remember like the most happy I'd be is when we were on that little hour flight from Chicago to Omaha, and I was just like we're back, and I can't wait for it. So
Okay.
I'd say just everything in general. I'd also like to mention my grandparents as well. So.
All right, Jamie. How has the experience of living abroad has helped you professionally? Let's say languages, knowing foreign languages. Has it helped you professionally?
I'd say it's helped me more in mannerisms and how to behave more than languages. Um, I'd say especially having to move around so often and adjust so much, it really helps you. It really forces you to be more personal with people, and that's really helped me in the workplace. Whether it's getting something from this coworker here, or just small talk with another coworker there, or it helps me feel more comfortable. I'd say the language part's definitely coming at points, whether it be bringing up German or Norwegian, but I'd say definitely the mannerisms of how to behave in the workforce has helped a lot, especially being the son of a diplomat, where that's literally my dad's livelihood for a certain number of years, and that's all I really knew was okay. Like if my dad's doing it, that's probably the way I should act. And that, I'd say even to this day that helps me, whether it's interacting with someone who's my age as a colleague or someone who's a senior exec. It's just a respect thing that's helped. I get that from overseas, I'd say.
And Jamie, yes, you were young when you moved back, but how has that experience influenced your perspective on life and world?
Well, I'd say it's definitely given me a very unique perspective that not a lot of kids get. Moving around every 3 years is pretty difficult, but I'd say it's definitely given me some very good benefits. It's definitely given me a better appreciation for the United States. Um, I'd say definitely a better appreciation for my family, realizing, who the more important people are in your life, whether there's because there'll always be those people that are in with your life for the long run, your family, your brother, certain friends, and unfortunately, they're going to be those people who are only in your life for a certain amount of time. And growing up overseas as a third culture kid, moving every 3 years, that's one of the biggest takeaways I had was okay. Some of these people in just a few years, they're going to completely forget about you, and that's fine. It's not nothing personal. They're not doing it purposely. It's just that's just life, and you need to move on with that. And kind of accepting that, I'd say, is freeing in itself, where it gives you, it opens your heart up for more experiences, and even more people to meet. I feel if you were dragged down by that, it's I mean, I feel you are at first, but I think after a amount of time growing up overseas, especially in my situation, that's something I've just come to accept. So.
All right. Has it made make you more, you accept the other, the concept of the other easier compared to somebody of your age who grew up in the United States? I'm more thinking about accepting the differences between you and somebody else, which falls in that communication aspect that you mentioned as well. But if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely another big takeaway I've taken from growing up overseas is that there are so many different people, whether it's here in the U.S. or even abroad, where there's so many different people. Everyone has a story. I think that I've really gained a greater appreciation for that, where you need to think globally, not just me here and like the Midwest and Chicago. Like there's a bigger world out there. Everyone's got a nice story to tell. I think it's appreciating those differences, and that's how you really build a relationship. And that's again big takeaway from overseas.
Thank you, Jamie, for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.